Hey NAIA football fans, Corey Thorpe here with another edition of the NAIA Ball Podcast, powered by AdCraft USA, your custom apparel, merch, and uniform experts. Our friends at AdCraft have been with us for many years now. They've run web stores for us multiple times. These guys are NAIA fans and family who are experts in the apparel and merchandise world. AdCraft allows you to take the hassle out of ordering. Let their knowledgeable design and customer service staff handle everything from hosting the store online, shipping the product, and helping your customers so you can get back to the game. Find them online at adcraftusa.com. All right, NAI football fans, Corey Thorpe here, back with another edition of the NAIF Ball Podcast, powered by AdCraft. Custom apparel and merch. You heard the ad read. Not gonna beat a dead horse here, but for those that are hearing this, that are interested in the Sun Conference, that had at this point Debbie either passed them or on their way, as is in my case. When we're recording, y'all be safe, and if y'all need anything, y'all know where to find us. But let's get into it. First up on the docket, Matt, is it's going to be one that's near and dear to our heart. That's going to be the Thomas Nighthawks. I would say the SP Plus is about right. 83rd overall, 70th offense. Offense looked amazing at times. Other times it looked like it didn't know where it was going. Defense, you had a bunch of freshmen and sophomores playing, and when you're playing against big boy schools, they got pushed around a little bit. And
that's it's going to happen. As a first-year program, I think they did a pretty decent job. I mean, you got to see most of it, obviously, so unbiased for you here. I don't know. I think they're in a good spot. They didn't do much better or much worse than what we both expected last year. Got a decent amount of returners too.
Yeah, and because of the fact that you've got two amazing teams at the top of this conference, there's no all conference returners, or obviously it's second year program. There's no leavers at this point. I don't know. We'll have to see. I am very interested to see what's going on. Thomas changed quarterbacks kind of mid-season, went to Charles Britt, and Britt, Southpaw, was much better, in my opinion, with his reads and with his reading the field. Because Thomas is an option offense, kind of got to have both. If you don't have a guy who can read and react on the option, which is very much almost a true triple, you're going to be in a world of hurt. James Amaker was really good at running back. Brandon Denmark, who's listed as a wide receiver. Tramel Hall is coming back. Keep an eye on Denmark. Denmark was really, really good as very much a guy that you would throw to on the edge, a guy that you put in your A or B back spot, and could really do it all. It's a guy that I would pinpoint as a guy to watch.
Absolutely. I think second year of this program, there's a lot of good things to be looking forward to, and I'm biased to any triple option team. So,
and this is a year for Thomas where you're going to have to you're going to be able to measure yourself. You're playing Bethel of Tennessee at a neutral site location in Columbus, Georgia. You get St. Thomas and Kaiser at home. You will get a really good picture of where you are playing those three squads.
absolutely.
Next up is not to bring up old wins or anything, but it's the only team Thomas beat last season. That's with the Warner Royals.
I don't know if that's something they're going around town shouting about, but
I'm sure it's not.
certainly not. This was a pretty okay Warner team last year. Obviously, their defense was not up to speed. Offensively, was able to get more done. We saw this team be competitive at times, but they were about middle of the road record wise, kind of bottom half of the conference, like we expected. I don't know if there was much we were looking forward to with this team, but they do have some key pieces on that defensive side coming back, so maybe they can improve from that.
Yeah, the one thing I'll point out for Warner is that they were much improved on offense. You already saw that. They're actually, believe it or not, improved on defense as well in terms of that SP plus. It was bad a couple years ago. I'm trying to pull up the 2023 because I want to see who their 4 is against. Brevard College, Fort Lauderdale, Kentucky Christian, and Ave Maria, which honestly was a surprise. We'll get to Ave Maria later, but
yep.
You start that 3-0 and you look at who it's against, and yeah, I think Warner's still got some growing to do. You do have a couple of key pieces you were talking about on that defense that are coming back in Anderson and Aline.
Absolutely. I think, too, this is important to note that this team will be playing FCS, Stetson University, to second game of the season. Technically, first regulation game of the season. They have a scrimmage.
To be fair, this is a Stetson team that did beat St. Thomas last year. So even though they're Pioneer, it's a good Pioneer school. I mean, St. Thomas was really good last year, and came up just shy to Stetson. But good on Warner. Get you a money game in there, and use that to your advantage. I mean, there's no shame in that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see what this team brings to the table. I don't know if I'm super high on them to do a whole lot outside of what we expect from them, but I think it could still be a good year for them. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, you have some holes to plug on your offense. Especially as it comes to your running backs, with Deshaun Trowers being one of the few guys that's coming back for you. So, 20 or less % there at your running back position of your production. And a majority of your defense is coming back. So we'll have to see. I mean, can it be addition by subtraction? I don't know. But I tell you one team, okay. So we keep going on this. Who beat who? Thomas beats Warner. Warner beats Ave Maria. We keep on going. This was not intentional. Ave did not play as good as I thought they could have. When I watched them against Thomas, they looked incredible. Most of that was due to the fact that Thomas couldn't stop the run game for love or money, but it is what it is. They were down 20 spots. A little bit of a defensive issue there. They were down 31 spots of SP plus on defense. And Matt, that Brian Stemke kid is good.
Yeah, he is pretty okay, I would say, for sure. Kind of the heartbeat of that entire offense. But not to mention that behind him, you also had Joshua Jenkins, who unfortunately is leaving for them out wide. Need that balanced attack. But I do think that you have Jamal. Nope. Sorry. Wrong one. You have Roman Newkirk, coming back, which is big for you as well. He was a key contributor there. This team was weird last year, kind of underachieved from what we expected, but you do have so many good pieces coming back that I think you're setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, a couple of those pieces, you mentioned Newkirk and quarterback Andrew Leger, were both Sun Conference, I believe, second teamers in 22. So, you know what they're capable of. They've just got to, get it going. Obviously, you've got to improve on defense, and you do have some holes to fill there. returning majority of your defense. You've got to find some spots there at linebacker with Connor Jewell, replacing those 73 tackles, and at defensive back where you've got to replace Shane O'Brien, who was good for 3 picks, or a pick and 3 tackles for loss from the DB position. It's I don't know. Ave Maria has been one of those teams that it's been hard to peg. They're up, they're down, they're up, they're down. Will this be another up year? I don't know. I can't say for certain.
Yeah, unsure. Also should note this is a team that has 2 bye games next year against Stetson, who was previously mentioned, and Dayton, who's also in the Pioneer League in the FCS. So,
yeah, I mean, look, the Sun is weird because you've only got these 8 teams.
Yeah.
And to fill out a full 2-team or 10-game schedule, you've got to either find games against your Mid-South schools, which already have a scheduling agreement with the AAC, or you've got to find teams like Kaiser has and take the absolute hardest road to hope imaginable, playing Valdosta State and Mississippi College and Lindenwood, and there's just not a lot of options at this point for your Sun squads. There's not an absolute ton of D2 and D3 football in Central Florida.
Yeah, definitely. It's just it's interesting. You see a lot of Fort Lauderdale. You see like Atlantis University on these schedules. Like
Atlantis is non-countable. But give credit to Fort Lauderdale. They are. They're NCCAA. Atlantis is not countable. Whoever has that on there, put scrimmage next to it for the love of God. But up next in our preview, we go down in win-loss, but up in quality. It's a Weber team that is darn near average on the numbers. 51st in SP+, 51st offense, 55th defense. But man, that 3-7 record.
Yeah.
That tells me you had some weirdness.
Yeah. The only games they really weren't in last year were St. Thomas and Kaiser, which, like, okay, that makes sense. But every other game, they were within 1 or 2 scores of for the most part. This was a scrappy team that I liked watching last year. I think the SP Plus shows the bigger picture. I mean, it's supposed to. That's the point of the statistic. But like, especially in their case, I feel like it really shows like this was a pretty good team last year. And I think that they have so many pieces coming back, maybe not some all conference guys like you'd hope, but all of your position groups are familiar. Pretty much your whole defense comes back and pretty much your whole offense comes back.
And I will give a plug for our friends at Suncast here. Our buddy Reagan is coaching the kicking folks, punters and kickers both. I don't know if they made him special teams coordinator and he's doing, punt returns and all that good stuff, but I know that
specialist.
I know that he is coaching the specialists there. So
there you go.
I expect Weber to be averaging, 50 yards per punt and have a long of 63 yards on their field goal team just because Reagan is there.
Yep.
And we love our friends at Suncast. They're phenomenal folks. Reagan does an amazing job of both that and NAIA softball, a passion for softball, and just a good dude. Got to spend some time with him at the national championship last year. So, I do expect big things out of the Weber specialists. From a guy that knows his way around booting a football. Yeah, our friends at AdCraft, you got to go see what they're doing. Great with the web stores. Just doing incredible work there in the Midwest over in Iowa. Go check them out. Go see what they've got to offer with their web stores. Customer service is off the charts. NAIA born and bred. You cannot go wrong. They'll treat you like family. Yeah, well, NAIA is a big family. You're just extended family for them. So, at Craft Web Stores, and check them out. Next up, Matt, is the team that was most improved from last season, the Florida Memorial Lions, up 42 spots from 2022, up 39 on offense and 11 on defense. Matt, this was a team that really, I don't want to say came out of left field, but was a surprise to me watching them play.
Yeah, I think the on-field product. We were both kind of looking at this team and raising an eyebrow, like we expected them to take a step up last year. But I think to see how much improved their offense was, and how functional it was, and how it worked for them for most of the season, and it was off the back of guys like Walter Wilbon, who's a second-team All-Conference guy who's coming back for you, which is absolutely huge.
Yeah, they had a ton of running back production. Wilbon's just the headliner there. You do return a majority of those running backs. You split a little bit on your offensive line, though. Justin Max leaving. Jeffrey Bonica is returning there. And, there is one thing, though, that is going to be a little bit of a problem for you if you're a Florida Memorial, and that is, to my reckoning, and we'll have to, we've asked for clarification, but have not heard anything by time of publication. I did not see a single underclassman D lineman on their roster or on that played any significant time at all. They might have some waiting in the wings that had like 2 tackles, but there were no defensive linemen that notched double-digit tackles over the course of a season. When you're talking about a 10-game season, that's a tackle a game. You probably should be able to get there.
Yeah, and this is a depleted defense that already was not the best last year. It's a scary spot. You're gonna need the young guys to step up. And obviously, we saw this team step up last season. They're capable of doing it. Got a good coaching staff over there. I don't know. It's really going to come down to the defense and if those fresh faces can plug in right away.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm they're in the tent of suspicion for now. I'm
Yeah.
looking at them like you can be really good next year. I don't know if you will be. I think the defense is going to be the thing that lets you down. I don't know that the offensive attack is going to be your problem.
Yeah.
Next up is a team that we say every year absolutely can break out at any given moment, and that is the Southeastern Fire. Up 10 overall, kind of surprising to me for a team that was straight across the board 5-5. They were much better on offense. They were awful in 2022. They were up 39 spots on offense. Down 7 on defense, but that'll help you out a lot.
Yeah, and it'll especially help that Josiah Neos, your main running threat, is going to be coming back for you. That quarterback room is pretty depleted, unfortunately, on offense. They're going to have to figure some things out because they got it to click last year, but a lot of the guys that contributed to that, like maybe not your home run hitter guys per se, because you have no all-conference guys leaving, but definitely contributors and guys that helped that offense hum. It's going to have to be guys that step up.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to lose your big wide receiver. You're returning Dominic Larry, who was good for a kick return touchdown last year, so the man can move. You've got most of your running backs coming back. You've got a minority of your quarterbacks coming back, but if you've got most of your running backs coming back, you might be able to get a guy that you like, who's young, who can figure it out, and still rely on the running game to move the ball when you have to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, look, Southeastern has championship level mentality in everything they do. We say it every year. At some point, it's not if it'll click, it's when it's going to click. Failure is not an option for Southeastern.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go to they're the most recent newcomers aside from Thomas, the ones that have been loved by us here at NAIAF Ball for a while, finally getting their just desserts. The St. Thomas Bobcats make that playoff appearance, even with a 9-4 record.
Yeah.
9-3 going into, or 8-3 going into the playoffs. I was very happy to see what they did last year. It felt like what we had been talking about for the last 2 or 3 years finally paid off.
Absolutely. And the stats do it justice, right? The third best offense in the entire country last year, 7th overall in SP plus. The gauntlet, for as much as it kind of beat you up throughout the season, record wise, you survived and you were better for it. Especially when you have guys like Rontavious Farmer, who had over 1,700 yards at running back last year, which I feel like today's day and age of football is pretty unheard of. Absolutely phenomenal job, and he's coming back. Keely Watson's coming back. Your main guy, David Hayes, at receivers coming back. Offense is going to be scary again.
Khalid Truzal's coming back, 714 yards there. You've got 18 touchdowns between those two dudes, plus 26 from Farmer. The big one that you're going to miss is going to be Saquon Jean-Pierre.
Yep.
That was a guy who, when you needed something, he was going to get it. 669 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, 291 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. That's 12.1 yards per carry for Jean-Pierre. And then you've got those 3 offensive linemen, 2 of them which are all conference, and that's for a team that likes to run the ball. And you see Rontavious Farmer with those 1,773 yards and 6.3 yards per carry. You see those 3 offensive linemen and you go, ooh, that's going to hurt.
Yeah, it's got to find a way to get that pass game rolling, which obviously they have. They have the pieces to have a phenomenal passing game. Keely Watson was pretty solid last year, to put it lightly. But it's going to have to be more relied on, because I think you're going to have teams keyed in on Farmer, as if they weren't last year. They're especially going to have it that way. And you have new faces on O-line. Definitely a place where your unit needs cohesion more so than most other groups on the field, I would say. So they're in a very interesting spot. It's hard for me to really count them out because they have that incredible offense pretty much all returning. But that defense, there's also going to be some question marks there.
Yeah, 100%, because you're missing Emilio Savage on your defensive line first teamer, Ja'Cory Austin, Armand Anderson at your defensive back spot. Those 2 combined for 4 picks, 9 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles. At the defensive back position.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you've got some to fill, and so this is really going to be. We've talked about it for the last couple of years. Years 4, 5, 6 for St. Thomas. Are you going to be able to continue to reload? Or is this going to be a defensive rebuild? Are you really going to fall off on defense and struggle to keep up? And let's say Southeastern is resurgent and is the Southeastern of old. Are you going to be able to fend them off with just your offense? Well, one last team, Matt, and we didn't plan it like this. Sun is just the last in the alphabet of divisions and conferences in the NAIA, but it seems apropos that our last team to preview in the entire nation are the national champs, the Kaiser Seahawks.
Makes sense.
I mean, it hasn't always been that way. I mean, we've had Northwestern and Morningside kind of be in the middle of the off season when we're doing the GPAC. Lindsey Wilson the same way, but what a magical run it was for Kaiser. A 12-2 season, best offense pound for pound in the NAIA, a defense that was good enough, actually lost 13 spots, but was good enough, got it done time and again. So what are we bringing back then? Well, bring back Jaden Meisinger.
Yeah.
That's a small deal there, only 1,640 yards, 23 touchdowns. Yeah, that'll do. You're also bringing back Andrew Burnett, 993 yards and 14 touchdowns.
Yeah. Not really. I don't think, was he honorable mention?
No.
For all conference or no?
I don't know. I never look at honorable mentions. Those are the folks that their coaches wish they were on second team.
Yeah. But man, almost 1,000 yards to his name, if 14 touchdowns as well. That's another huge piece to bring back because they like to run the ball. If you did not notice,
the good news here, as we go to our next slide, is that even though you're losing Bryce Feasling, and even though you're losing Justin Wake, who was the stand-in for Beasley in that national championship game, you are returning the guy for whom Beasley stood in for in the playoffs in 2023. Shea Spencer is back.
Yep.
And that's huge to me that you have that.
Yes. Guy who's familiar with the system. And Miles Russ, the new head coach there, obviously an internal guy, knows what he's doing with the program. It's a new head coach, and there's a lot of change going on, but I still feel like this team is in a phenomenal position going into next season.
Yeah, you do have some pieces to replace. Especially how good is Shea going to be after a year of not playing? And that coming off an injury. How good is Shea going to be? Is he going to be the Shea Spencer that we know that was able to hit passes like clockwork? That short game was incredible under Spencer. Or is he going to have lost a little bit of that rhythm? Don't know. Defensively, while you bring back a majority of your linebackers and DBs and half of your D-line, that still means you've got some big shoes to fill. I mean, Jadavis Black, Monte Tony, Jay Willis, Trevon Cooper, Wendell Feelord, Louis Lubin. There's a lot of huge names, and knock on to that half of your coaching staff is now in North Carolina. Including your special teams coordinator, and offensive line coach. Lenore Ryan is getting a great staff. But, Miles Russ has been the recruiting coordinator for at least the last couple of years.
Yep.
If anyone has been kind of the architect of this Kaiser team other than Doug Sosha, it's been Russ. And we'll have to see, but right now I'm kind of like Matt. My attitude drifts towards hopeful.
Yeah. I'm in a similar spot, I think, with this Kaiser team.
So then who are we picking? That is the question. I'll start off. I do not know that I'm going to pick them to go back to back in the national championship, but I'm certainly taking Kaiser to go back-to-back here in the conference. Last year we were kind of all really set on St. Thomas and had a lot leaving for Kaiser, including a quarterback that you didn't know when he was going to come back in Spencer. And we thought that he might be coming back, and he eventually didn't. Comes back this year, but can you catch lightning in a bottle twice for the national championship? I don't know that you are going to. You may. For the division, I do think that due to what St. Thomas is losing, you're finally kind of losing at the same rate that they are. And I think that's going to be enough to get you out in front. I don't know that any team behind those two has a chance to win the Sun outright.
Yeah.
Matt, who you got on your winner?
I'm going to have to agree with everything you just said, taking Kaiser. I really like St. Thomas again. I do. I just think that defense is scarier to me and a bigger question mark than anything that Kaiser has going on. So I got to see it with St. Thomas. I think their offense will be fantastic. But for me, Kaiser just still makes the most sense.
Yeah, I'm still looking at St. Thomas as the Northwestern of the Sun. Whereas Kaiser's going to be more of your morning side. I definitely think that St. Thomas is going to be able to run the gauntlet of the Sun other than Kaiser and should be able to take a playoff position again, especially with it being 20 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Matt, then who does that leave then for your dark horse?
Give me Weber, the big green W. Yeah. I just think they are a better team than what their record shows, and a lot of people are not going to be expecting them. They were a solid team last year by what SP Plus showed us, and this is a team that was just a few flipped plays away from having a winning season, at least 500 for sure. I think they're going to get it done. They have so many pieces coming back. I think that some of the teams that had similar records are in worse spots. I don't think that Warner's quite there yet. I don't know if Florida Memorial's really going to be up where they were last year. I just think that they're the ones that are going to surprise people this year.
I 100% agree with you. I echo your sentiment that the results on the scoreboard did not always represent how well they were playing. From a statistical standpoint, I do think, like you said, SP Plus shows that they were better than the record would have given them credit for. You're bringing a lot back, a bunch of quote unquote no names. You have no first or second team coming or going. And so this is a real opportunity for Weber to go, look, no one is watching us. Let's put in that good summer. Let's put in that good fall. And let's Florida Memorial our schedule this year. Let's make that big step forward like the Lions did and be that team that surprises people. Now, that being said, you can take that dark horse on our pick for the Sun and take it with a grain of salt because ours last year were Ave Maria, Warner, and someone else who didn't do a hill of beans. You never know sometimes with the Sun. It's really difficult to predict, because there's a lot more. With the teams that are down there in Miami, you're going to pick up these impact freshmen. For these teams that are over near Tampa, Weber, Warner, Southeastern, you're going to be able to pick up some of that good leftover talent that's in Tampa and Orlando. and Lakeland for that matter. There's some good guys that are out of Lakeland. And then Thomas finding them big corn-fed boys of South Georgia. Hey, propelled Florida State to 3 national championships on the back of South Georgia talent. You never know. You've got a lot of talent-rich areas here in the Sun. All that to say, that makes that dark horse really tough to peg.
Mm-hmm.
So then, who's going to reign supreme, Matt? Who's going to reign supreme, best conference, best division in the NAIA? Well, the Sun did a really good job last year in terms of average SP+, all the way up at 5th. That's what happens when you've got 2 teams in the top 10. That's going to work in your favor. However, on that standard deviation, it does not work in your favor when you've got them and you've got 2 teams in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
It does not work in your favor. Yep. So, we have lots and lots and lots of ties. So sorry, AAC. Sorry, Sooner. You're tied for last. I'm going to make so many people mad with this. The Mid-States Mid-East is tied for 10th. There is no way.
Numbers don't lie, Corey.
There is no way on God's green earth they can lay claim to the best division, at all. Just the way that conference has realigned makes that absolutely takes that away from them. Give absolute credit where credit is due to the KCAC Kessinger and the Mid-States Midwest, who are fighting back against a little bit of the recent history, because 25% of that overall score is from the 2022's points. You know, you can't be just a flash in the pan and be the best. You got to have a little bit of sticking power. The Kessinger division and the Midwest division were tied with the Frontier just from 2023's performance. But the Frontier staying power from being that good in 2022 gives them the edge there. But that being said, you got to watch out for the Kessinger and the Mid-States Midwest. Those are 2 that were up and coming, and you're going to have to pay attention to. The KCAC is not the walkover conference overall that it was in 2018, especially the Kessinger division. And then before next year, when they resplit the division and they realign that, there's going to be a lot of good teams that get split out there, and it's going to make the KCAC a lot better in the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have it. Congratulations, Mid-South Conference, best conference in NAIA football for a 2nd consecutive year. Frontier, I don't know what's going to happen to the Frontier score. Well,
a lot of new stuff going on for them.
A lot of new stuff coming in. We'll have to see what happens. You know, I know one thing for certain. With 12 conferences and divisions next year, there will be no one who's at 13th. What that will do to the Frontier, I don't know. We'll have to see. Congratulations to the North Star making the top half in your final year. That's it's a whale of an accomplishment. No one gives the North Star the time of day. So that does it for our season preview series. Holy Christmas. All right, so let's talk scheduling from here on out. Getting up at the home office. Hopefully we'll get something scheduled this week. Obviously, there's Tropical Storm right on top of me. So depends on how bad she is when the power comes back on, when we'll get to record with the home office. You know, be in prayer for the Big Bend of Florida. it is a tropical storm, but also, if you get one that hits just right, it can cause some damage. So do keep Big Bend of Florida in your prayers. But hopefully we'll be recording that podcast this week. We're going to take a week off, hopefully a well-deserved week off. After doing all this, all off season, all 30 some odd episodes. I think this will be 32. Home office will be 33. Take a week off, and then we're going to come back on the 26th for our first live show. And if you are a patron, on the 29th, we will be doing a patrons-only live stream, going through the first, what do we say, Matt? Was it 8 games?
Yep, 8 of them.
All the way from Reinhardt Carson Newman, hopefully, at 6 p.m. Eastern, all the way to Dakota State, Dakota Wesleyan at 8 p.m. Eastern. So that's gonna be a good, fun late one. We will we'll have fun. We'll watch the game. We'll see how the season unfolds, and then y'all can catch me on Friday afternoon calling Bluefield at Thomas. But for our patrons, we thank them so much. You got to do fun things like patrons only watch-alongs for them because they're so good. Just keeping their making sure that we are taken care of. They're the best, and they are DSU Cone, Bob Boone, Roger Meyer, Jeremy Vobble, Fred Christensen, Jerry Quickle, Ace Wellen, Brett, Marty Seabolt, Nick Ryan, Hayden Ferrigno, Kyle Gregory, Tyler Pierce, Justin Hoffman, Steve Speakman, who I feel like will be pretty happy with our Weber dark horse pick. Sort of has a vested interest there. Brian Shake, Julianne Shager, Nate Sobier, Stephen Cutler, Julie Lout, Dale Norton, Nathan Moore, Dylan Gonzalez, Ryan, Jason Crawford, Charles A. Flowers, Todd Nix, Sean Chamberlain, Zach Lance, Josue Trujillo, and Casey Willison. That is it for our preview series. We made it. It is August. Woo!
We have football this month.
We have football this month. We had a Hall of Fame game last week, which, isn't real football.
Didn't even get completed, so.
Yeah, well, it was the Falcons, so they can't play a complete game in the Super Bowl. Why are they going to play a complete one in the preseason? So,
Ouch.
Self-burn. Is what it is, but we have made it. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. And the next time you'll be hearing from us both, it'll be getting ready for a live show. So, for Matt Schwartzler, I am Cory Thorpe, and welcome to the 2024 NAIA football season. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the NAIA Ball Podcast, powered by AdCraft USA. Be sure to contact them for all your custom apparel, merch, and uniform needs. Thanks also to our newest sponsor, Telemetry Sports. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe to the podcast and to our YouTube channel, and leave us a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. As always, if you'd like to support what we do, head over to patreon.com/NAIAFball and become a patron. We can't do what we do without our sponsors and listeners like you.